Hi everyone, my name is Yulia Horovan. This is News Pulse at UATV. Welcome to the daily segment. Today in the episode. 2,000 kilometers from Ukrainian border, Russia's largest petrochemical complex has been attacked. Trump has walked back promises to let Kyiv build Patriot missiles while Russia continues to attack Ukraine with ballistic. Putin is preparing for parliamentary so-called elections in Russia. No anti-war parties in the list. Wildberries logistics facility in Russian-Ukrainian region caught fire last night after a Ukrainian drone attack. Local residents reported explosions and the company confirmed the evacuation of employees. The warehouse became fully operational in November 2025. Its area is over 150,000 square meters. As a reminder, on August 7th, Ukrainian drones attacked the company's hub in Yekaterinburg. Previously, media outlets also reported a sharp drop in military goods sales on this marketplace following the Ukrainian armed forces strikes. Ukraine's general staff confirms strike on oil refinery in Russia's Orsk. A fire was recorded at the refinery following the strike. The plant is located 1,500 kilometers from Ukraine. This is one of the largest oil refineries in Orenburg region and an important facility in Russia's fuel and energy sector. The refinery has a processing capacity of around 6 million tons of oil per year. It produces petrol, diesel, fuel oil, aviation fuel, bitumen and other petroleum products, also for Russian army. Few hours earlier, a fire had broken out at a Rosneft oil refinery at Komsomolsk-on-Amur in Russia's Khabarovsk region. It is one of the main suppliers of petroleum products for Russia's Far East. Russia's largest petrochemical complex has been attacked. Ukrainian drones flew more than 2,000 kilometers from the state border and struck a strategic Russian chemical industry facility in Tobolsk, Tyumen Region. Fires and destruction were reported on the site, according to Ukrainian Special Operation Forces. They carried out the long-range strike in coordination with the Black Spark rebel movement. The targeted petrochemical complex produces basic raw materials for industrial products used by Moscow for its defense sector.
Another facility in Russia's oil refining industry was hit, and the distance was significant, more than 2,500 kilometers. This was in Tobolsk, in Siberia. Now this region is within reach of our deep strikes, a very significant achievement by our Ukrainian warriors. I thank everyone for their accuracy. There will be more Ukrainian deep strikes, which should demonstrate to Russia and the Russians that peace is necessary.
Moscow is preparing not for peace, but for escalation, said President Zelensky after last night's attack on Ukraine. Russians attacked Zaporizhia with North Korean ballistic missiles, zircons, and guided aerial bombs. It was a vicious attack calculated to inflict maximum damage, specifically on civilian infrastructure. 6 people have been reported killed and 19 wounded in the city. In Kyiv, a missile strike damaged businesses and an infectious diseases hospital building.
Every step Russia takes, increasing ballistic missile production, bringing in North Korean equipment, preparing for mobilization, all of this shows that Moscow is preparing not for peace, but for escalation, and the world needs to respond now, not wait. More sanctions pressure specifically on enterprises that fuel Russia's war, more air defense assistance for Ukraine. All of this is needed to give peace a chance. Volodymyr Zelensky, president of Ukraine, on X.
Trump has walked back promises to let Kyiv build Patriot missiles amid concerns that vital technology could fall into Russian hands. According to The Telegraph, the most worries are about Ka band radar, which is installed in the nose of the Patriot missile. It helps detect targets in the final seconds of flight and guides the missile to intercept. The United States strictly controls Patriot production technology and rarely permits the missile's production outside the country. Currently, only Germany and Japan hold such licenses. Japan, however, is not permitted to independently produce the Ka band radar. Dictator Putin will not enter into any negotiations as long as Russia can launch missile strikes on Kyiv and other major Ukrainian cities with impunity, according to analysts from the American Institute for the Study of War. They note that the Kremlin has decided to exploit Ukraine's vulnerability, which has arisen due to a shortage of interceptor missiles for the Patriot air defense system. The Kremlin has ever refocused its production efforts and begun producing more ballistic missiles. Russia plans to use the coming winter to try to break Ukraine's will to resist. Also, we have already know it's impossible.
The Kremlin will not enter serious negotiations or make meaningful compromises on its demands as long as Putin believes that he has a viable military path to achieving his full objectives. Ukraine's Patriot shortages offer Russia an opportunity to cause very serious damage to Ukraine over the coming winter and will therefore contribute to delaying meaningful negotiations and protracting the war. From the Institute for the Study of War.
Ukraine has a chance to force Putin to negotiate, according to the Financial Times. Analysts know that Russia's war against Ukraine is increasingly turning into an aerial confrontation. The widespread use of drones has virtually deprived the army of the ability to maneuver freely on the front lines. At the same time, Ukraine has significantly increased long-range strikes against Russian military installations, logistics, oil refineries, and defense enterprises, the experts emphasize. For Kyiv, Russian ballistic missiles remain the main threat. Patriot missiles remain the most effective defense against them. However, Ukraine's stockpiles of interceptor missiles are nearly exhausted. The publication calls on its allies to urgently provide Kyiv with additional ammunition and accelerate their production. Russia's so-called Supreme Court has annulled the registration of Yabloko, Apple in English, the only anti-war party, for the parliamentary elections. Pro-Kremlin parties has also demanded its disqualification. Yabloko has already announced its intention to appeal the ruling. How Russians reacted to the attempt to bar the party from the elections and what is happening to the opposition within Russia today, more in our story for you.
The only anti-war party in Russia allowed to take part in the State Duma elections says its candidates have been threatened and pressured to withdraw from the race. Kirill Rumyantsev, deputy head of the party's Saratov branch and a candidate in the Balashov constituency, said that since August 6th, unknown individuals have been threatening him and his family by phone and through messaging apps, demanding that he drop out of the campaign. According to Rumyantsev, the threats are a result of growing intolerance within both Russian society and the state toward alternative views and criticism of the authorities. He says this has been fueled, among other things, by laws criminalizing fake news and the discrediting of the army, as well as the practice of labeling Kremlin critics as foreign agents and extremists.
He then made a number of threats against both me and my family. He also said that illegal substances could be planted on me, substances I have absolutely nothing to do with. The threats continued in a messaging app. A user named Igor wrote to me, claiming that he had been watching me near the entrance to my home. In his messages, he not only insulted me, but also threatened to kill me.
The anti-war Yabloko party has already faced public attacks from representatives of other Russian political forces, including A Just Russia, the Communist Party of the Russian Federation, and the Liberal Democratic Party of Russia. The most vocal critic has been Rodina party leader Alexei Zhuravlyov. He appealed to the Supreme Court, demanding that Yabloko candidates be barred from the elections, and called the party members national traitors. Among the claims against Yabloko are alleged copyright violations involving images generated with ChatGPT, as well as photographs from 1945. Hundreds of people came to the courthouse in Moscow to support the party. According to Yabloko, around 500 people were waiting in line to enter. However, analysts believe that even such public support is unlikely to change the outcome.
This has absolutely nothing to do with elections or freedom in Russia, because, as I have already said, Everything has been programmed for a long time. Kirienko has a rather substantial folder on his desk with each of the 450 seats mapped out, how they see the distribution, and how they are actually going to implement it.
Amid record-low approval ratings, Putin has begun purging even the so-called systemic opposition, the Telegraph reports. One example is Boris Nadezhdin, who, after years of working within Russia's political system, was forced to leave the country. According to the Telegraph, at least 23 Russian politicians have recently been barred from participating in elections.
In order to attract attention and somehow diversify an otherwise completely cemented political landscape, these different events keep happening. Everyone understands that it is no longer really about Yabloko. They need to bring in at least some dissenting voices so that people will line up and vote. Because it simply does not matter who votes for whom. The Kremlin has already counted everything. They are just dividing tenths and hundredths of percentage points between different Kremlin towers and their respective seats.
Courts in Russia could become just as much of a farce as the elections. Expecting an independent judiciary within Russia's political system is becoming increasingly difficult. Appeals against convictions risk becoming nothing more than a formality, especially in political cases, whose number continues to grow. Ukraine's Foreign Intelligence Service says that in the first quarter of 2026 alone, Russian courts handed down 107 convictions in cases involving state security. Overall, more than 4,000 people are now facing criminal prosecution in Russia in connection with the war against Ukraine. The number of convictions has exceeded 2,700, reported by Nikita Skoblikov, UATV News.
That's it for today. I'm Yulia Herwan. Thank you for watching this segment. We appreciate your time and effort a lot. Please also share, comment, subscribe to UATV. We got you covered on whatever tomorrow holds for all of us, always in Ukrainian perspective. Stay safe and see you on tomorrow.